And the game of the year is... Astro Bot!
In 2024, Astro Bot won Game of the Year, and the internet had a completely normal, sane reaction. Whether it truly deserved to win the award or not, what I do know is that Astro Bot is as great as two glizzies on a hot summer day. I don't say that lightly, as I adore 3D platformers, especially when they are crafted with this much love. Heck, A Hat in Time and Banjo-Kazooie are two of my favorites in the genre. The mixture of exploration and collecting items gives me that sweet, sweet dopamine hit. However, I always felt like the 3D course clear games, such as Super Mario 3D World, were lacking substance. Astro Bot merges these two subgenres together to great success, like mustard on a hot dog. The story of Astro Bot begins with our titular character cruising through space in a starship that resembles a PlayStation 5. Astro is joined by a wide assortment of robot buddies, some of whom happen to be modeled after characters developed or published by Sony. Side note, I can't imagine a long trip with passengers this energetic. It looks absolutely exhausting. The branding doesn't feel invasive, but more a celebration of the rich history of PlayStation. The bots are surprised by an unfriendly and rude alien who rips their ship apart. This space creature, that resembles something I would blow into a tissue by the way, steals the CPU, which is integral to the bot's space travel. This causes the ship to crash land. In the process of crashing, the vital components of the ship are scattered throughout space. In addition to losing components of the ship, all the other bots are ejected throughout space as well. Astro Bot will need to collect the components and find the other bots to repair the ship into a solid state. It's a fairly simple premise, but it works well. Alright, on to the meat and potatoes of Astro Bot. It's gameplay. Astro Bot's movement speed is near perfect in my opinion. You have a jump button with X and can hover by holding X in midair. Whoops, sorry, wrong clip. The thrusters work triple duty as not only a hover, but also as an attack and keys to certain platforms. A tap on the square button is a punch attack, and holding it will allow you to do a charge attack. The charge attack can also be used on these marks on the ground to dig downward. The L2 and R2 buttons are used for special abilities, but more on those in a bit. Astro Bot has their own personal ship, the Dual Speeder, which resembles a PlayStation controller. The Dual Speeder has its own set of controls. The L2 and R2 buttons can be used to boost on the world map or when entering a stage. There are motion controls in the game for some of Astro Bot's abilities and the Dual Speeder. You'll need to tilt the controller in the direction you want the Dual Speeder to lean. Thankfully, this can be turned off by changing the controller tilt assist option to on. You'll be able to use the left joystick instead of the motion controls with this option. Turning off motion controls does not lock the player out of trophies or 100%ing the game. There are 11 basic power-ups in the game, such as a balloon that inflates Astro, or frog gloves that let the player interact with new objects. Stages with power-ups are designed to fit the theme of the level. One of the power-ups is a chicken rocket that increases the height of jumps. I've read online claims that this power-up is derivative of the rocket nozzle from Super Mario Sunshine, but I say that was derivative of the high jump from Kirby's Adventure. So, meh. Another power-up is the monkey, and this thing is a piece of scrap, my least favorite power-up in the game. It's used to climb banana-shaped handholds, which doesn't sound that bad, but aiming it uses motion controls. And me being the foolish fool I am, I didn't turn off motion controls. The sponge, however, might be my favorite power-up in the game. It allows Astro to absorb water and grow in size. The water can be expelled to grow plants, put out fires, make sponge platforms grow, and clean up muck on the ground. Okay, maybe those Super Mario Sunshine comparisons are onto something. But I've digressed. There are power-ups beyond the basics in the form of various PlayStation original games such as God of War or Horizon Zero Dawn. I enjoy the power-ups in the game, save a couple. Namely the penguin and the monkey. There is a feature I don't consider a power-up, but is power-up adjacent. The blue bird. If the level has been cleared, the player can return and spend 200 coins to release a blue bird. The bird will emit a chirping sound when the player is next to a collectible that was missed on the initial excursion. The closer the player gets to the collectible, the faster the bird chirps. A blue bird that helps you in your adventure. I'm getting deja blue. Astro is not very durable. In fact, the little bot gets destroyed in one hit. What a lightweight. There is an exception to this, as Astro gets 2 extra hits in boss fights. The mini-bosses in the game are arguably more challenging than regular bosses due to not having the same room for error. These mid-level baddies are massive and intimidating, but rewarding to take down. Boss fights are gated behind how many bots have been rescued. Bosses are colossal and the player can feel the weight of damage being inflicted upon them. These fights are fairly simple, but the Falcon McFly fight did give me a bit of trouble. Regardless of their difficulty or lack thereof, I found all the fights to be an entertaining spectacle. Except for the final boss, but that's more motion control nonsense I did to myself. There are 5 primary galaxies with 1 hidden galaxy. Each galaxy houses 5 to 6 regular worlds. Challenge levels themed on the X, triangle, square, and circle buttons of the PlayStation controller. Asteroid levels such as Retro Rampage. The boss level. And the previously mentioned PlayStation character themed level where the ship component is recovered. Clearing a level is as simple as getting to the flag to clear the course. However, I do not recommend rushing to the end. There are a handful of bots and usually 3 puzzle pieces to collect on each level. Several bots in each level are inspired by game characters from popular gaming franchises, some of which have been dormant for years. Stages include the basic themes such as lava, water, forest, the usual. But there are some creative world themes such as Luna Sola, where the player switches the day and night cycle to progress. The game has a main hub, and that would be the crash site. Here you'll repair the ship and the rescued bots will just kind of hang out. Like the bosses, new areas of the crash site are gated behind how many bots the player has rescued. Puzzle pieces will unlock buildings. These buildings include the Gotcha Lab, which has a capsule machine. The capsules include accessories for bots as well as cosmetics for Astro and the dual speeder. Other buildings include the costume shop where Astro can change outfits, an area to equip dual speeder colors from the capsules, and finally, Safari Park, a spot for taking photos with robot animals. That reminds me, there's these photo standees and levels in case you wanted to grab screenshots. Some levels have secret exits that take the player to a new world in the Lost Galaxy. These secret levels only have 2 puzzle pieces and less bots to rescue. Collecting all puzzle pieces unlocks the final challenge stage to collect the last bot. The devs added some post-game content after collecting the 301st bot. These are time trials and challenge levels with even more bots to rescue. They are challenging, rewarding, and fun. After launch, a holiday-themed level was added to the impressive catalog of stages. It utilizes every basic power-up. Levels are designed to lead the player forward. A good indicator that a pathway is a detour is if there is no checkpoint visible. The environment does a fantastic job of guiding the player. I can't think of one time in the game where I didn't understand what to do or where to go. Stages are designed around the power-ups found in them, encouraging exploration, making a memorable and rewarding playthrough. I feel that the difficulty ramps at an appropriate pace. The game starts easy, and by the time challenge levels are introduced, they're, challenging. The game never reaches Dark Souls levels of difficulty, but I can understand people having trouble with certain sections. However, I never spent more than 15 to 20 minutes on a challenge level. I adore Astro Bot's character design. It's simple yet conveys so much of Astro Bot's personality and emotions. They have heaps of personality, and beyond that, the faces they make are absolutely adorable. The visual style drives home what the game is, a celebration of not just PlayStation games, but video games as a whole. However, my one complaint is that the stages feel more like a video game pathway than an actual world in some cases. Levels such as Construction Derby are guilty of feeling like random sky platforms placed solely to traverse. Thankfully, not every world has this issue, an example being Go-Go Archipelago, where it feels like the player is traversing across an island. The soundtrack in this game has some absolute bangers. I was dancing in my seat on almost every level. Though if I had to pick a favorite, Trunk of Funk may be it. If it wasn't obvious, I am giving Astro Bot a glowing recommendation. If you have a PlayStation 5, the game is a must-own, must-play. And besides, if you own the Demon's Souls remake, you'll be able to count the number of console exclusives that won't be ported to PC on 2 fingers. I'm Frank Fortune, and this has been Let Me Be Frank. I relish you being here, and I hope to see you next time. Have you played Astro Bot? If you have, what's your favorite power-up? Leave a comment down below and let me know.